do we have here? Oh no, that's cool. Got a Mercury right here, and then over by the house, 73-ish Torino. That's pretty cool. Zoom in a little there. Yeah, that's cool. Nice Mercury. Oh man, is it a beautiful day. It's like the first week of December in Florida. Very cold last week, like everybody felt to a greater degree up north, but man, here, it's just so stunning here today. It's like 78. Gorgeous. Reason I'm here today is because I'm going to use my favorite broom to clean out under both of these cars. I want to kind of confirm what drivetrain actually is in this car, so going to get some numbers off the block. It's a small block Chevy. It's painted like that baby blue, like a lot were in the 70s and 80s, so I'm going to get some information off the block. I'm going to slide up under there, confirm what the transmission is, also the rear end. I'm thinking the main donor car was an S10, but, oh, by the way, got to watch for snakes in this area. Yeah, it's going to take a minute. Go back around here. This other side. I must admit, this thing does save time. Wow. Look at that. That's not affecting much of that at all. Just layers of it. Now the Grand Prix. We've been researching this thing, figuring out what drivetrains in it and stuff. It's almost positively a 400. The main reason I use one of these things is because with the fire ant issue in Florida, this tends to blow them out quickly. That's good enough for me. This is the engine in question. Like I said, it's got that blue on it, which generally means 70s. Got an HEI, which started in 74, maybe? 74, 75. And clutch fan. In just a little while, I'm going to get down there and see if I can spin the crank. But for right now, I'm just kind of trying to get an idea what's up with it. Looks like a slobber jet down there with lots of vacuum lines undone. So TV cable. Looks pretty predictable. Did you notice this down in here? Off the back there. Can you see that down there? Now, let me turn this around here. Yeah. Somebody put it, I'm assuming, an oil pressure gauge down there. Yeah. And there's also a temperature for the coolant sender right there. Somebody wired up, I don't know, kind of looks like a start button. But man, I'm not going to use any of the wiring in this car at all. I have a brand new kind of a universal hot rod kit that has 12 circuits. But I'm going to get down in here and what the heck is that thing? It's a key. Look at that little key. And it still turns. I'm still not going to use it. I'm not getting this, so it'll burn to the ground. We can see down in there a little bit the transmission too. We'll figure that. Now those fittings are up toward the front like an early 4L80 would be, but I'm sure it's not a 4L80 because it has that servo cap down there. I'm thinking, once again, maybe the same era, 70s into the 80s. There's its trim tag. Now, I gotta get back up in here and start getting dirty and figuring out what the heck this thing is. Oh yeah, in the midst of all this stuff, a chrome U-joint. Ooh. That's still spinning. That's a resounding kind of maybe if you squint. Water pump. Yep. That crank I'm not entirely sure about. A little later style having that on top of there. Got one down in the head too. Coolant temperature sensor. So it has about 74 coolant temperature sensors. All right, let me get some numbers off this block. You guys ever have a nightmare where the engine in your vehicle, instead of being a 350, was a 305? I'm living it, man. I'm living it. Yeah, it's a Canadian 305, which is, it's just a half step above scrap. Not the best gas mileage. Just right in there with a 307. It is just average. I'm going to take off that air cleaner, see if it's got a 2 or a 4 on it. It's kind of tight, so it's going to take me a moment here. One thing you learn quickly at a junkyard is that things that don't look like tools can be tools. You have to just kind of figure out how to make them work as that tool. You know, make it, use it as a lever. 305, man. I don't even know how to respond to that. 305, really? Who would do that on purpose? Okay, it's got a 2-barrel or a 4-barrel on it. Will it be entirely gutless or really freaking gutless? Oh, also, will there be something under here that's gonna eat me? It takes 2 hands to get this off, I'm thinking. And it's a fire-breathing 2-bubble. It's not gonna be the fastest car that's ever traversed the roads. But, we're making progress, though. Let's see if the starter's actually hooked up down here. Sooner or later, I'm gonna have to climb under there, aren't I? You also think they would have used these 90-degree boots on the other side, where arguably that one is questionable. All right, I gotta slide under. Before I put that wing nut back on there, I'm gonna... You think this works? I don't either. Yeah, leak detector. What do we got over here? Tech 2000 with PTFE. Silicone. I'm going to put 1 drop on that wing nut just to make it so it comes off easier next time. I have a feeling I'm going to be taking that off soon. Yeah, slid up under there. Been a while since I messed with a Turbo 350. Every time I ran across one, I would swap it out for a Power Glide, Turbo 400, all kinds of other stuff. And in a series of my videos I did here, I actually changed out a 4L60E to a 4L80. So never really used Turbo 350s unless they were in stock applications. But that's indeed what this one is, as evidenced by the pan, which kind of, imagine, almost looks like a square with a little notch cut out of one of the corners. That's a Turbo 350. So really traditional setup. Also remarkably gutless setup. We got to look under the back end now and see what's happening back there. It's got bolts on the cover, and you know, I'm one of those old school dudes where bolts on the cover. It's either going to be a 10 bolt or 12 bolt, but this is kind of a different setup. We'll turn on some lights, see if we can see up under there. Is that a 10 bolt? Is that we're gonna? No. Let me see this better. You can see there's 1 bolt in the center. It's got Lakewood traction bars on it. That's crazy. It would not need those at all, ever, under any conditions. And you could see the ring gear kind of imprinted on that back cover. So I'm guessing the S10 rear end. I don't think it's anything amazing. And I think also, as I said earlier, I think the brake assembly's square body S10, maybe the one after that, but I don't think it's anything crazy tech. Let's figure out what the brakes are. I know the front of this kind of looks like it was put together with a couple different vehicles. Let's see what we got down here. Alright, that's good news. There appear to be disc brakes in there. Little spacer, that's high tech as well. But, smoke! If we can get a shot down through this wheel. Yeah, that is, of course, a disc. Don't see a caliper. Generally needed. Wait. What do we have over here? There's a caliper. Disc on the front. Almost positively drum on the back. Should have looked when we were under there, but yep, drum. Not a performance build, except the Lakewood traction bars. And when we get inside, kind of appropriately, a Buick steering wheel. That same era. Maybe all this stuff came out of a V8 70s to early 80s Buick. Check out this. This plug is going to be the same on about 1 billion. 5 wires. Another plug there. That column seems to work. 472 tons of acorns. Look at that piece. Drip rail's been filled in. Okay. Make sure the tilt still works. Yeah. By the way, if you guys were watching a video where I pulled an old steering column out of this barn about a year ago, it wound up being the original one to this car. Kind of a banjo style, like you would have seen in like a 40 Ford. The only real place that I've seen rust on here kind of being a biatch is right here. See that? And on the bottom of this. Also, he says he has a whole bunch of these hinges. That one's broken over there. That bar doesn't look like it came on that window to me. I might be wrong though. Already got the first item for the 36 Buick. Brought it out here in the high performance street Prius. You like this? Now, I'm going to put this thing together in a way that works, but it's going to be just very basic. But a brand new wiring harness under $45 on Amazon. So, I should probably get to work. Can't stall this much longer. By the way, don't use the little blue connectors except on things that don't matter. And this matters. So we're going to solder everything. Long about now, it's time to make a list. Now, I have a kind of a rough way of doing this stuff. I make sure that the wheels can roll first, just so I can move it around inside here if I have to. And I'll try to put some air in the tires, but these are vintage, so probably not going to hold. Second, I will go in there and see if I can rotate the crank a little bit. Just put a socket on the end of it. Once I do that, I will pull it out of this garage. Now, since this little engine is not some big crazy 392 Hemi with Hillborn on it, it's just a 305. I'll probably rotate it a couple of times by hand put a little oil down in the cylinders, let it sit for a day or two, spit all that out, rotate it with the starter. And then before doing any kind of cooling or anything like that, I'm probably going to put just a little shot of instant start in the carb to see if it'll just do a little putt. And if it does the putt, then I'll start wiring the whole car. But you kind of have to have a game plan for these things, because if you start like fixing rust on the trunk, or if you start doing these other things, that you're kind of getting ahead of yourself. One of the very first things I have to do is remove every single bit of wiring in the car. And while that may seem like, wow, he's taking it more apart, for that wiring kit to go in there and for you to do it properly, let's run every single wire front to back, top to bottom. That way, the first time you get in it, the turn signals are going to work, the brake lights, the alternator is going to work properly. And it's so important that when you get the car going, man, you're going to be so happy that you just took the time to wire it. So let's get in here and start checking some of the fluids before I crank it. Quite a bit of oil, actually. Now you can look upon the whole oil level as a good thing or bad thing, but it's hard to tell at this point. The good news is it looks like the engine has not been really screwed with, but all this stuff like this, man, I'm not gonna look at all that, all the red wires, every single one of them's red. You can tell what they were trying to do though. That little key makes it so those two red wires become a circuit. And then that thing over there, I think the back of the switch broke out or something, but there's a starter button there, which it pushes in and eventually lets out. I have one of those starter buttons that's like the trigger style like Derek Bieri uses, but I would love to try to keep this little key in here. This dude is so dinky. Probably the reason I burned the car to the ground. Let's rotate that crank. If I can even lean over here, I mean, how the hell are you supposed to do this? I don't have a ratchet with me yet. I had one for that car the other day, and that's like a 15/16, but this one is not. I have to feel up under there and see if it's the style with 3 bolts or the... Yeah, it's got the 3 smaller bolts and then a surprisingly not large one in the middle. Then again, it's not like this is a torque beast. I'd say that middle one's a 5/8. And as I showed you guys the other day, tools just show up in junkyards. There's already some sockets. I could convert it to a Kubota. See, pliers. Stuff everywhere in here. So I'm going to go ahead and assemble my tool kit right here while I'm working on it. An extension. Got some more sockets here. All I need to find now is a ratchet and soak it in oil for a minute. I'm ready to go. Various pulleys. I'll keep looking here. Bad news is I didn't find a ratchet over there, or a really heavy-duty wrench, but the good news is there are about 170,000 other places to look. You're wondering, why didn't he just go to that toolbox? Well, we weren't able to get it open the other day, but now that I think about it, I think Don did get it open. Let's see what we got here. Nope. Yeah, and it feels like it's not really attached to anything. Good Lord, look at that damn COVID infested. Ugh. Anything over there? Let's come down this side. Let's give the predators a good chance to eat us over here. You guys are probably going, that's a so-and-so that'll fit my blah and blah. Non-commercial, Wisconsin 94. Panasonic. Oh, that's the Supreme. I had no idea. Well, I can't find one. I could beat it with that floor jack. Well, not a floor jack, but bumper jack. Gotten so used to saying floor jack. Nothing. Nothing. Let's go to the other side of the The Grand Prix shotgun shells. I thought it was lipstick for a moment. That would have been awkward. Oh, I just come out here in the garage every now and then and, you know, do what it takes to feel pretty. Nothing over here. Wildcat juice. I can't find a ratchet. So I guess I'll move on. Look at that little piece that I just kind of shined on a little earlier. Surprising, huh? It looks like Chevy's old butternut yellow. Anybody else get that vibe? Okay. Wish list next time. Well, not wish list. Mandatory list. Next time I come out, I'm bringing all my soldering stuff. Bringing all the wire cutters and crimpers and all that sort of things. But I'm also going to probably yank this wiring out. Because all that stuff's useless. But bring some instant start, a battery. Make sure that that Turbo 350 down there is in its park position. I can see the lever down there, but can't tell much besides that. It's not going to be the fastest vehicle ever. This kind of makes me wonder, though. Did you notice this? That is chrome with an Allen head for the stud. Yet it's got a totally stock intake. I think maybe that's just all they had, because I don't think there's anything special about the engine whatsoever. It's got that little gauge back there to make sure it's building oil pressure, but I think that's about it. I'm glad it has an HEI, so I don't have to mess with points and all that, but time to get home, time to get on Amazon, get some stuff on the way, put it on the car, and yeah, also I have to bring a floor jack, because I'm going to lift this thing up and see if it will roll at all. Tires are just thoroughly smoked. They are ambient air pressure. And that one's yellow too. Ooh. Yeah, every single one of these has been on here for just decades. Generally speaking, a cool old car, though. How many young kids you know who would be terrified to get in the back of this car? How many adults? Smells good, though. Look at that little hook thing. Oh, it's a primitive oh crap bar. Well, it's made out of metal, made to just your kneecap going right into that thing, man. But wow. Wow, that's a whole lot of pieces that came off this. Oh, and there's a little footrest. Wow, now see, that's cool. That's why you get cars like this. They don't make a footrest on them these days. Yeah, there's probably some kind of animal in here that's going to eat my face off. Every now and then I would always recommend just taking a minute and looking at the beauty of your project. Just kind of remember that when it's done, it's going to be really cool. And a lot of this inside here, like the dash and all that, I know you're thinking, wow, look at all this stuff just hanging from the ceiling and cobwebs, but you know that'll take about 2 minutes to wipe that dash down. Yeah, no big deal. Yeah. And that's where the critters crawl in and out. That's comforting. Quick thing before I go. Used Pepsodent toothbrush. That's old school there, man. The door is sticking over here. This is 2-cycle oil. Door's sticking, and with this, I figure if nothing else, I could try to get it ground down into that lock assembly. Because I don't have any other way to get it up in there, really. And no place to... I'm not going to get it on that cloth. But now, just grind that up in there. I don't have any kind of spray, so... Pepsodent, you've served me well all these years. That's a genuine Pepsodent. I should put that on eBay. I'll save it over there. I had to get it to work, and it hasn't yet. But the good news is it's down in there. And I'm going to put some around here, and then when I come back in a couple days, maybe things will loosen up a bit. One of the problems, if you see that rust right there, one of the very few places that has it, but it's also in this area internally, and this thing's not wanting to move. So we may have an issue in there, but the good news is we take a couple screws loose and that ain't no big deal to fix that one. Let's go buy some Amazon parts. I remembered the wrench I found the other day. 1/2 inch, 9/16. Gonna remove the fan. I think once I get that out of the way and that pulley, I can see if that crank pulley is gonna turn. Except for the fact that the bolts on the fan are 7/16. The search continues. I could make progress, you know, if I ever brought a tool. Purple fingernail polish. There's some weird stuff going on out here. Put that right back.